Most people over 60 are carrying harmful gut bacteria that's stealing their sleep. A landmark study in the Journal of Functional Foods found that a 3-spice combination destroyed 74% of pathogenic bacteria in just 30 days. Not probiotics, not fiber, 3 spices you already own. The same study showed a 58% increase in beneficial gut flora and a 43% drop in inflammation markers. Within 48 hours, one of these spices started killing harmful bacteria while you slept. Your doctor will say, take a probiotic. But 80% of gut supplements fail independent potency tests. This isn't just aging. This is bacterial warfare happening in your gut every night. And here's the part nobody connects. Just a few nights of poor sleep collapse microbial diversity, letting the bad bacteria overgrow even faster. The cycle feeds itself, turning one bad night into a month of exhaustion. So which spice flips this switch in 48 hours? Consider the scale. Among Germans over 60, nearly 1 in 8 struggled with sleep disorders in 2022. That's millions of seniors lying awake, blaming stress, blaming age, blaming hormones. The real culprit is sitting in their colon. When harmful gut bacteria overgrow, systemic inflammation markers spike by 43%. That inflammation crosses the blood-brain barrier. It disrupts melatonin. It keeps the nervous system locked in fight or flight at 3 a.m. Mainstream medicine has one playbook for this. Eat more fiber, take a probiotic, drink more water. But fiber alone feeds both good and bad bacteria indiscriminately. In an already imbalanced gut, fiber can make bloating and overgrowth worse. UCLA data shows rapid fiber increases trigger 20% more bloating in adults over 60. Probiotics fare no better. WebMD reports that 80% of gut supplements fail independent potency tests. 8 out of 10 capsules sold in American pharmacies. Dead bacteria, wrong strains, mislabeled counts. Seniors are paying $30 to $80 a bottle for placebo dust. Most people over 60 are still following the probiotic playbook that fails 80% of the time. Subscribe to Stop Guessing and start fixing what your doctor won't explain. That's why this video exists. The conventional toolkit treats symptoms while the bacterial warfare keeps raging every single night. Therefore, the question isn't whether the standard advice is incomplete. It is. The question is what actually destroys the overgrowth at its source while a senior sleeps. The answer lies not in adding more bacteria, but in selectively eliminating the strains that sabotage rest. Most doctors never explain this mechanism. The gut and brain talk through a direct nerve channel called the vagus nerve. Roughly 90% of the body's serotonin is produced in the gut, not the brain. Serotonin is the precursor to melatonin. No melatonin, no sleep. So when pathogenic bacteria dominate the colon, serotonin synthesis collapses. The brain stays wired at midnight. The senior stares at the ceiling. Therefore, the cause of insomnia isn't always in the head. It's 3 feet lower. Diverse gut microbiota also produces GABA, the neurotransmitter responsible for calm. Lactobacillus and bifidobacterium strains release GABA precursors that quiet the central nervous system. When those colonies shrink, GABA drops. Anxiety rises, sleep fragments. This is the gut-brain axis, and it doesn't just regulate digestion, it regulates whether a 67-year-old wakes up refreshed or exhausted. Stop chasing sleep with melatonin pills. Stop chasing digestion with antacids. Fix the bacterial population, and both problems collapse together. How many nights this month did you blame poor sleep on stress or age, when the real culprit was sitting in your gut the whole time? Drop a comment below. The proof is global. WHO data on Okinawa. Japan shows seniors who consume fermented foods daily, miso, natto, tsukemono, have 5 times lower rates of GI disorders than seniors in Western countries. 5 times. Not 50% better, 500% better. These same Okinawan seniors report among the lowest rates of chronic insomnia in the developed world. Their secret isn't expensive, it's bacterial. Daily fermented intake delivers live cultures that crowd out pathogenic strains, lower inflammation, and feed serotonin production. But fermented foods are a slow build. They take weeks to shift the microbiome. Seniors suffering tonight need something faster, something that penetrates bacterial biofilms within 48 hours. And here's where the global data turns confusing. If fermented foods work in Japan, then spice-heavy diets should work even better elsewhere. Indian cuisine uses dozens of antimicrobial spices daily. By that logic, Indian seniors should have the healthiest guts on earth. They don't. The Lancet data tells a very different story. The disconnect reveals that volume of spice intake matters far less than precision. Throwing 20 different compounds at the gut creates as much chaos as benefit, overwhelming the system instead of targeting the core pathogenic strains responsible for sleep disruption. Spice-heavy Indian diets correlate with 25% higher reflux rates compared to low-spice Japanese diets, according to Lancet studies. Capsaicin from chili peppers, while antimicrobial, also irritates the lower esophageal sphincter. Therefore, not all spices are equal. Some kill bacteria but inflame the gut lining. Some calm the gut lining but barely touch the bacteria. The goal is the rare combination that does both. Over 600 clinical studies now document how specific spice compounds penetrate bacterial biofilms. Biofilms are the slimy fortresses that pathogenic bacteria build to hide from antibiotics, from probiotics, from the immune system. This is where most videos get it wrong. They tell seniors to sprinkle turmeric on eggs and call it medicine. But turmeric alone has poor bioavailability. Less than 1% reaches the bloodstream without a delivery compound. The science is more precise than that. Curcumin from turmeric, when paired with piperine from black pepper, increases bioavailability by 2,000%. Add a third compound, gingerol from fresh ginger, and the trio penetrates biofilms that single spices cannot crack. The landmark study in the Journal of Functional Foods tested exactly this combination. Adults consuming a specific 3-spice protocol daily for 30 days showed a 74% reduction in pathogenic gut bacteria. Not a 7% reduction, 74%. 3 out of every 4 bad actors gone. The same study reported a 58% increase in beneficial gut flora diversity. Not just killing the bad, multiplying the good. Intestinal barrier integrity, the lining that prevents leaky gut, improved by 61%. Inflammation markers fell by 43%. These aren't observational guesses. These are controlled, peer-reviewed results published in 2023. Here's why it matters. A 74% pathogen reduction means the bacteria responsible for nighttime cortisol spikes lose their colony density. Serotonin production rebounds within weeks. Melatonin synthesis follows, sleep returns. And the cost of these 3 spices, bought whole at any American grocery store, runs about $12 for a 60-day supply. Compare that to a single bottle of probiotics that fails 80% of potency tests. Save this video if you know someone over 60 who's been sold the probiotic lie. They need to see what actually works. But within the 3-spice protocol, one compound does the heaviest lifting in the first 48 hours. That compound works faster than the other 2 combined, targeting the most aggressive pathogenic strains before they can rebuild overnight. Understanding which one leads the attack explains why timing the protocol correctly doubles its effectiveness. That compound is gingerol, the active polyphenol in fresh ginger root. Gingerol stimulates lipase secretion and reduces food transit time through the GI tract, which means harmful bacteria spend less time fermenting and producing the gases that disrupt sleep. Within 48 hours of daily intake, gingerol begins penetrating biofilms that have shielded pathogenic strains for years. Therefore, the senior who starts tonight feels the first shift before the weekend. Curcumin from turmeric works on a slower timeline, roughly 7 to 14 days, by reducing gut wall inflammation and feeding the beneficial Akkermansia strains that produce sleep-supporting metabolites. Piperine from black pepper, in just a pinch, multiplies absorption of both. This is the overnight mechanism. While the senior sleeps, gingerol is killing pathogens. Curcumin is rebuilding the gut lining. Piperine is unlocking absorption. 3 compounds, 3 jobs, 1 cycle of sleep. The German healthcare system has begun acknowledging the cortisol angle. Clinical trials there show that targeted gut interventions lower nighttime cortisol, the stress hormone that fragments sleep at 3 a.m. Lower cortisol means deeper REM. Deeper REM means morning energy. But the SPICE protocol has competition worth respecting. Australian studies on adults over 60 show that 150 minutes of weekly walking produced a 25% drop in constipation, outperforming standalone ginger or turmeric trials by 15%. Movement matters. The protocol works best stacked with daily walking, not as a replacement for it. One warning: anyone on blood thinners like warfarin should consult a physician before adding daily ginger and turmeric, because both compounds have mild anticoagulant effects. Anyone with active gallstones should skip turmeric entirely. The recipe is simple: 3/4 teaspoon of ground turmeric, 1/2 teaspoon of grated fresh ginger, 1/4 teaspoon of cracked black pepper, stirred into 8 ounces of warm water or unsweetened plant milk, taken 30 to 60 minutes before bed. That's the window. Take it earlier and digestion absorbs it before the overnight repair cycle begins. Take it later and the warmth disrupts sleep onset. Timing is the variable most videos ignore. The difference between results in 48 hours versus 2 weeks often comes down to nothing more than when the cup is consumed. Precision in timing turns a helpful remedy into a transformative intervention. Here's what breaking the cycle actually looks like. Within 3 days, gingerol has cleared enough surface pathogens that nighttime bloating and gas production drop noticeably. Within a week, beneficial flora begin repopulating the colon, and the first uninterrupted 7-hour sleep returns. Within a month, the 74% pathogen reduction documented in the Journal of Functional Foods is fully realized, inflammation markers fall by 43%, and the gut lining rebuilds by 61%. The senior who couldn't sleep through the night now does. The senior who needed a nap by 2 p.m. doesn't. The gut-sleep connection in adults over 60 is one of the most overlooked health crises in modern aging. Millions of seniors worldwide are exhausted, not because they're old, but because their microbiome has been hijacked by overgrowth that no probiotic capsule can reach. Restoring the gut-brain axis doesn't just return sleep. It returns morning clarity, stable mood, regulated appetite, and the steady energy that disappeared somewhere around age 62. This is the compound payoff. Fix the diet, fix the gut. The sleep follows, the energy follows, the mood follows. The vicious cycle breaks not with a prescription, but with 3 spices already sitting in most American kitchens. The bacterial warfare doesn't stop. It runs every single night, whether you fight back or accept another month of broken sleep. The question isn't whether the conventional toolkit is incomplete. It is. The question is whether you'll be the one who finally chooses differently. The only question left is whether the next 30 days look like the last 30 or different. The choice defines whether exhaustion becomes permanent or temporary. A bottle of name-brand probiotics runs $45 and has an 80% chance of failing potency tests. The 3-spice protocol, backed by over 600 clinical studies and a peer-reviewed 74% pathogen reduction, costs about $12 for 2 months. That's the math. That's the choice. Tonight, the warm cup of turmeric, ginger, and black pepper goes on the counter or it doesn't. Tomorrow morning either feels different or it doesn't. The bacterial warfare keeps running either way. The only variable is whether someone fights back. Tonight, the decision takes 30 seconds. The next 30 nights depend on it. Continue with the Healthy Aging Mastery playlist, your complete guide to staying strong, steady, and independent. This is educational information, not medical advice.